In Series 9, Episode 1 of Doctor Who, The Magician's Apprentice, Missy lists off 3 things to Clara Oswald and then invites her to guess which of them is a lie. In my 6 or so years being involved with Doctor Who fandom, this is a topic that's come up a few times, and each time people don't seem to be able to agree on the lie, but I've thought for years now that it's pretty obvious. In this video, I'm going to go over my perspective and explain why I think it's the only option that makes sense based on the content of Series 9, and then also talk a bit about the Season 1 episode Boom. Clara, since when do you care about the Doctor? Missy, since always, since the Cloister Wars, since the night he stole the moon and the President's wife, since he was a little girl. Let's get the easiest of these 3 options out of the way first. Part 1. Since he was a little girl. Missy didn't know the Doctor when he was a little girl. She just didn't. The Doctor and Master met during their time at the Academy when they were both little boys. Missy won't know the Doctor to be a girl until the Spy Master, the incarnation of the Master after Missy, meets the 13th Doctor. Missy is lying about knowing the Doctor as a little girl. Part 2. Since the Cloister Wars. In Series 9 Episode 12, Hellbent, 12 makes reference to the Cloister Wars, so we at least know the wars happened. That reference alone should be enough to make you come to the conclusion that what Missy says is true, as there's nothing in the show to contradict it, but we can find some information in terms of when the Cloister Wars happened, and if the Doctor and Master knew each other during that time, just for a bit more clarification. The Doctor Who wiki says, according to human histories, the Cloister Wars were waged sometime after the Sontaran invasion of Gallifrey, which was the first event to reveal the existence of the Matrix to the wider universe, but long before the last Great Time War. So, the Cloister Wars took place after the Sontaran invasion of Gallifrey, but before the last Great Time War. The question now would be if the Doctor and Master were alive between those 2 events, and yes, they were. The Doctor Who wiki says the Doctor and Master both had some involvement in the Sontaran invasion, and we obviously already know that they both had some involvement in the Time War, which means the Doctor and Master would have known and cared about each other for all of the years between the Sontaran invasion and the Time War, and therefore knew and cared about each other during the Cloister Wars. Missy is telling the truth about the Cloister Wars. Part 3. Since he stole the moon and the President's wife. Since Missy said only one of her options was a lie, and we've already established one of them to be a lie, that should mean that the final one is true, but in Hellbent we have this. 12. The last I heard he stole the moon and the President's wife. Clara. Was she nice, the President's wife? 12. Ah, well that was a lie put about by the Shibogans. It was the President's daughter. I didn't steal the moon, I lost it. I've seen a lot of people say this confirms that this option is the one lie, because it wasn't the wife and he didn't actually steal the moon, but what it really means, in my opinion at least, is that Missy told 2 lies, she just didn't realise it. When people realise that this option was a lie, and therefore the other 2 must technically be true, they seem to forget that we know for a fact that Missy didn't know the Doctor when they were a little girl. They also seem to not take into account the fact that the Doctor tells Clara about the Shibogans spreading a story around. The obvious conclusion to me is that the Master heard the rumours the Shibogans were spreading about the Doctor stealing the moon and the President's wife, and just never clarified with the Doctor if that was true or not. Missy is unknowingly lying about the moon and the President's wife. Part 4. Boom. In Season 1, there's an episode written by Stephen Moffat titled Boom. It's full of, some would say too many, references to previous Doctor Who, and one of those references is this. 15. I went down to the beach and there she stood, dark and tall at the edge of the wood. The sky's too big, I'm scared, I cried. She replied, young man, don't you know there's more to life than the moon and the President's wife? When I first watched this episode, I was like, oh great, something else to add to what I already find to be a mildly frustrating conversation, but on rewatch, I don't think the moment changes anything. The way the Doctor says this seems kind of poetic, but he's presumably just recounting a conversation he had with someone. It's very likely when Moffat included this moment, he didn't think too deeply about it and just thought it was a fun reference, but if we are going to really try and make sense of it, I think the simplest conclusion would be that whoever the Doctor is talking to in this moment, similar to Missy, believes the lie the Shibogans spread around, because if they didn't believe that, then they wouldn't be asking about the President's wife in the first place. You could also go a bit into the context around the conversation the Doctor is having, like who is the conversation with, when exactly did the conversation take place, but none of that really matters in terms of explaining Missy's 2 truths and a lie game. Part 5. Conclusion. Missy told Clara she was only telling one lie because she herself believed she was only telling one lie, but she was in fact unknowingly telling another lie as well. I've seen people come up with other ways to explain this, and I found a Reddit post, which I'll put in the description, that has some fun theories, particularly surrounding the additions in Boom, but a lot of the ideas I've seen rely on more headcanon than my reasoning does, which is why I think they don't work as well as the explanations I gave in this video. To me, the less headcanon and guesswork you need to do, the more believable a theory is, like jumping through hoops to say that actually the little girl option is true because the First Doctor is trans just isn't how I typically engage with things. Obviously, headcanon away, the First Doctor is trans headcanon is definitely fun even if it's not my thing, but if we're talking for lack of a better word canonically, I do think my theory makes the most sense and is more likely to be the intention than Moffat confirming a trans First Doctor is, you know? If you think there are any holes in my reading of these scenes or have more to add that backs up my ideas, then feel free to leave a comment and let me know. I'm interested to know what people say about this, even if my mind likely won't be changed. That's all I have to say for now. I'll see you in the next one.